Hey gang, how you all doing? It's update time and I thought today we could do something different and have a chat about pens. So I'm not a pen expert or anything, but I have tried out quite a few pens in my time and I have more pens than one human being should possibly have. But in my defence, I was working for Kuretake, which is a Japanese pen company, so that was a while ago now. But it does mean that I have quite a collection of pens and have tried quite a few. So I'm just going to go through what my favourite pens are and what I use on a regular basis, particularly for drawing and art journaling with, and I'll stick to those for the time being, and then we can maybe look at some more specialised ones if you're interested, and at another date, like the watercolour brush pens or things like that. So, the pen that I use daily, and I have talked about this before, is the fountain pen. So this pen, I will draw with it in my sketchbook, I've also drawn with it in my art journal, and I note take with it constantly. So I really like the fountain pen. And I don't buy any particularly expensive ones, but I do buy the cartridge converter so that I can put my own ink into them rather than use cartridges. So I have a range of different inks, and if you know anything about fountain pens, most of the inks that you'll get are not waterproof, so they will react with water when you use them, which is great because then you can do all sorts of watercolour techniques with them, so that's really fun. But if you want to get waterproof ink, you do have to go quite far trying to find some, and I found one that I really like. Now, there are things like the carbon ink from Platinum, which is really good, but I've heard that it kind of clogs up your pen working if you don't use it like regularly every day. So I did some research and I found one that I really like, an ink, and so far I've had it in my pen for quite a few months now and it's been absolutely fine. I've had no problems with it at all. I'll list everything below, all of the products below this video so that you can find them. This particular ink's from Germany and it's a document one, so it's archival proof as well. So really love that, and that's great fun to draw with. So you can use it in your dip pens as well, which is another fun thing to do. So that's the pen I use on a daily basis for a lot of different things. So next, my favourite pen for drawing with, and particularly with line work, is the Fineliner. Now, I've used quite a few different Fineliners, and the one that I really like is this Unipin one, and it's really good actually. It is waterproof and hopefully fade proof as well. I can't test for that, but it definitely is water resistant. And you can get this one in different bullet sizes for the nib. So and basically for these I've found you kind of gravitate to one or two of the sizes, and until you tried out which sizes, you don't exactly know which ones you're going to enjoy using a lot. So I have quite a few of the different sizes, but I tend to use things like the 0.3, the 0.5 and the 0.8, and they tend to be the ones I use a lot, and occasionally the 0.1. So, but I think that's really down to personal preference. And when it comes to the colour fine line markers, I'm still trying out a few different ones at the moment, because I used to use these ones, and these are very popular ones, but I find that the nibs just wear down far too easily on these ones, so I've just stopped using them and I've switched to, I quite like using the Sharpie ones that come in different colours. So they're different from these ones. So these are also a fine point, but they're more like a felt tip pen, so they're more like these Sharpie ones that we all know and use a lot, so the bullet point ones. So those ones, and these are fine, I quite like using these, but you've got to be careful of the paper that you use with these ones, because when you use paper that they can bleed through, that can be a bit of a pain. So I use these ones for a lot of stuff, and they don't tend to bleed through quite as much, but you still have to test the paper that you're using. They're a little harder to find, that's the only problem with these. But I'm still testing different fine line markers, so for coloured ones anyway. You can get a couple of different colours in these. They've started bringing them out, but they're in this very sort of stationary style rather than art and craft style. So you've got blue and you've got red and you've got black, you've got grey and you've got sepia. So hopefully they'll bring out some more colours, which would be great. And the other pen that I love, I love this pen to bits. This is my favourite. It comes in two different types. So this pen is from Tombow and it's a brush pen. So if you've not come across this one before, I highly recommend it. So the black one is a very soft nib, but the blue one is a harder nib. Now I personally prefer the harder nib, but I think this is really down to how you enjoy using it. So I would suggest getting both of them and trying them out and then deciding which one you like the best. And the reason why I like this one is that it's just really good at doing very thin lines and thick lines, and I just really love that option when I'm drawing. And those, so for instance, the download that I did for you guys, that was done with this pen. I'd probably do most of my drawing with this pen now. Now, let's have a look at paint pens. Now, for me, the jury is still out on paint pens. I do use the Posca ones. I've used some other ones as well. And you know what? I am not that happy with them. They're okay. They do all right. They kind of do their job. But I don't find they're that reliable. You might have a different experience of them. I don't know. But they're not particularly my favourite pen. And until I find like one that I really love, I will still use the Posca. So I think I just find it disappointing that you can't get really thin lines with these, and I think that's, for my style of drawing, I just find that annoying. But I don't know, I think that's probably just me, so you guys might really love these. I have started using, for my white pen, one that you fill up yourself, and I did talk about this in another video, and so far I've been really happy with this pen, so I'm thinking about getting a black ink and using this pen, filling it up with a black ink, getting another one and filling it up with black ink, and see how that goes for me. Now, but the thing about these pens is that they're quite good for your art journaling, as you know. Whereas something like the Fineline Marker, you can use it on your art journaling, but if you use it on anything textured, it will wear down the nib, which is a pain. And you know, it's a case of you just have to try it and see. So I wouldn't suggest using these on textured surfaces, but I have used them on textured surfaces, and you just have to be prepared that you might be sacrificing your pen if you do that. So the Posca pen is a little bit more hard wearing, but it's not brilliant, but what can you do? Okay, so I have a little bit of a wild card pen, and this might be one that you've not come across before, but I find this pen really, really useful, and it's the ZIG Photo Signature Pen. And this is one of the ones that I picked up when I was working for Kuretake. So this pen is from Kuretake. They're no longer called Kuretake. They've changed their name, by the way. So, but anyway, so the company that used to be called Kuretake. Now the reason I like this particular one is that it works on non-absorbent surfaces. So it will work on your acetates, it will work on your photos, anything that's glossy, it will work on. So it's a permanent pen on glossy surfaces, and if you can find any permanent pen that's good on glossy surfaces, it's actually really useful, because I'll tell you a little trick that I do. It's a handy little tip. If you're unsure, if you've got a page and you want to do a drawing on it, but you're unsure about how it's going to look, then draw it with a pen that's good on acetate, and then hold it over your journal page, and then you'll be able to see whether it will fit in or not. So there you go, there's a tip for you. So this pen comes, you can get it in other colours as well, I think blue, red, green, perhaps some other colours like that. But again, it's not one of those pens that's that easy to get your hands on. So if you've got other pens that work on slick surfaces, then go with that. I only suggest this one because I know that it works on shiny surfaces, and I'm sure there's plenty of others that do as well, but it's handy to have a pen like this in your stash. Right, so my final drawing pen, and this might be a bit of a surprise, but it's just the ordinary ballpoint pen. I absolutely adore working with just ordinary ballpoint pens. And these are great because you can get them in a whole range of colours. Yeah, obviously you've got to have a range of colours, don't you? So I do have different ones of these. I couldn't suggest one company over another. They're all pretty much the same, and the only thing I would say is that when you get that little sort of ball of ink, because sometimes when you're using your ballpoint pen you get sort of like a little residue of ink, stop working with it and just wipe the ball off on a spare piece of paper and then carry on working with it. Otherwise, sometimes what happens, you've probably seen this yourself when you've worked with them, is you get just that little splodge of ink on your page, and if you catch that with your hand it will just smear everywhere. So they are my favourite drawing pens, and all of them you can try out on your art journal and in your mixed media. Just be aware, as I said, of if you're using some of these pens on textured surfaces, they will wear the nibs down. And yeah, just try them out and see how you get on with them. So yeah, that was my suggestions on pens, and I would love to hear yours, so please do tell, and yeah, just share in the comments. I hope some of that's been useful. Any questions you have, just ask, and I shall see you later.